Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today I have a very interesting deck profile for you. I had a couple events that I went to this weekend. I went to a showdown and I went to a box tournament at two different locals, and I took a deck that certainly in my opinion was not in the discussion of one of the best decks of the format, but I'm a big fan of taking what I feel comfortable with and just kind of playing around with my ideas. And I ended up taking Abyss, and I played a variant of it that was all kind of based on a theory that I had. And I'll get into that in a little bit, but I went 9-0 between both events. So I won the showdown, I won the box tournament, and I guess I'll let you know what I played against first. But in the showdown, I played against Forest, of course, with Elephant and Bolt and all that, Ramped or Discard Dragon, and then Aegis. And then at the other tournament, I played against Sword, which is one of my most feared matchups for me. But I kind of got some validation that the deck can still keep up with it after testing those matchups yesterday. After Sword, I played against Discard Dragon again, then Swordcraft again, and then Forest in the final round of Swiss. And then in top cut, I played against Egghaven, and then Forest rematch again. But between all of those games, 9-0. And I'm really happy with the list, and I wanted to showcase it for you guys because this list or playing this deck in general was all based on one theory of a card and how well it is or it should be on paper in this format, and that is starting with Mr. Crazed Executioner himself. So I've always loved this card, but I don't think he's always been that good because more aggro decks have been around, and whenever he evolves, for those of you who don't know, Crazed Executioner costs 1 to evolve. He becomes a 3/3, so he doesn't get a stat boost, but he says that you take 2 damage to your leader, but you can peek your opponent's hand, and you can discard any card you want out of their hand. So that is a crazy strong effect. It gives you so much knowledge of what they have, so you can play around it. Like, how is it not good, right? I just think it was very format dependent, but I landed on this card because I thought, man, this format is probably going to be a lot of Forest and Chimera, right? And those decks, like Forest in general, needs a large hand to win. They absolutely need a large hand to win unless they somehow open super aggressive, but that's just really rare, right? Like they need a large hand to win, and especially being able, so not only be able to take away their hand, but also hit the key cards like Silver Bolt or Elephant, or actually you really don't have to hit those, because if you start taking away their hand, those cards are weak anyway. They're duds. And Chimera, the thought was like, well, I'm just going to hit the Chimera. I'm just going to dig at your hand and hit Chimeras or hit Darias and whatnot. So that's all that this was. It was just a theory, and then I took it to some tournaments, and it did great. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the rest of the deck profile. So obviously, 3 Crazed Executioner. We played 3 Bellringer Angel. The card is still just as strong as ever. You got to be playing Bellringer. If you can play a deck that can play Bellringer, you should play Bellringer, obviously. And then the other one drops was Soul Conversion with Bellringer. It is a draw 3. I mean, you're gonna see that this deck is not like a Necro Charge Abyss. It's not an aggro Abyss. It's a kind of a different take. It's just really just hand drop Abyss is the way I was trying to make it seem. So Demonium Punk Devil. I actually don't love this card, but because it's just slow. It doesn't. I hate 2-drops that don't do anything whenever you play them. But it is a wall. I've survived off of this card so many times in the tournaments. I got down to 2. I got down to 1. And that was because this card kind of kept me alive, just being a ward that healed 2. So I will keep this card in my deck forever, for sure. This next card is this is kind of a flex spot. This actually in my championship showdown tournament, this was actually a Sparty Sergeant, which is a 2-drop 2/3 that mills 2. but I didn't like it very much in that tournament because I never really wanted to play it. I don't actually really care about the mills much in this deck, and so I just kind of swapped this out last minute before I went to the other tournament, and I put in Uriel, which Uriel, if you guys don't know, it says put a serpent into your EX area, serpent being a 0/1 Bane. And then it has another effect that I don't know what it is. It's for Medusa and Sthena, but I don't know what it does. But the whole point was that this card just gets you a serpent token. It just costs 1, so it's a flex spot. I put the serpent on the board so many times, and people had to play awkwardly around it because it just trades freely into something for 1 play point. It was nice. So I was a fan of this card, but this is a flex spot, truly, so it can be subbed out. And then I actually played a starter deck card, Lilith. This actually was Unica at one point until someone reminded me that Lilith existed. Shout out to Danny Ty. And this card, if you don't know, on Fanfare, it puts a bat into your EX area, and then when it evolves, it gives you a strike heal 2 to your leader. So yeah, I mean, you kind of want as many heals as you can in this deck. This was literally only in here as some kind of anti-aggro tool, because I don't want to just have no evolves or no way of fighting back on turn 2, so I want to have bell ringers. I want to have this, and this came up a lot. It was a great card. So 2 is fine though, because I really can't fit any more evos into the extra deck. So that's it for the 2 drops. Moving on to your Uma cards, because remember we had, I guess we're on 3 drops, but remember, three Crazy Executioner cards cracked. Seriously. But moving on to the Uma cards, we played 3 Nice Nature. This is the best card you can play on 3, really. I mean, if you want second, maybe not, but just going first is the best card you can play on 3. You want this to die. You want to hit random cards out of their hand, and this is just so damn good against Forest and against Chimera. So yeah, excellent card. Loved seeing it. Fine Motion is another one. This is your best card you can evolve on 3 or 4. This card, when it races, oh sorry, I guess race, not evolve, it becomes a 4/4, mills 2, heals 2. This is one of your very few ways of actually milling in this deck. Like I said, you don't actually care about milling as much. You just take what you can get. So your very few mills will come from this, and it'll come from another card you'll see later. We play Maruzensky as well. This card is, you know, this I would consider it a flex spot in the deck because you know, again, we really don't try to necro charge very much, but this card does have a nice enough evo, so I liked it as a flex spot. It came up a lot. So next we did play only 2 Bone Chimera. Again, kind of another flex spot. I mean, like, my reasoning for putting it in here is that it's a general out to anything, you know, like if Beauty and the Beast, Narita Bryan, a Forte, you know, it just takes all of those out for 3 play points once it's necro charge 7, so it doesn't have a high necro charge in order to get its effect off. I don't think I really resolved it much at all, really. I didn't see it very much, but you know, it was fine. I'm sure it's fine. Okay, skipping straight to 5s, no 4 drops. We play 3 Olivia, and this might seem like a lot, you know, but you really do benefit a lot from getting this card into rotation. Like, just so many times, even if there was a board put on in front of me, I would just go Olivia, heal, discard, and I would live. You know, like, I'm gonna take a lot of damage, sure, but I'm still playing the long game, which is I'm going to take your hand away. It doesn't matter how much damage I've taken realistically if you have no hand left to fight me. So this card, you need, it helps you so much if you see this on 5, get it in circulation for your Death's Breath. So loved it. I won't cut it. I need to see it. This was the MVP of my deck. Dark Alice. This card was so good for me. This ended up being my main way of getting my bigger followers in the cemetery for Death's Breath. This card, I think that, you know, in the Forest matchup, I mean, even hitting just non-random cards from the hand matter so much. I got hit with Elephant to the face so many times, once for 7/7, once for 9/9, and each of those times in separate games, obviously, I would drop a Dark Alice, I would swing at the at the King Elephant. They have to discard a card from their hand. Great. Dark Alice will die, and then I will use its effect to bring itself back. Discard maybe something big that I want to get in my grave so I can Death's Breath next turn, and then I swing into the elephant again, so they have to discard another card. And then sometimes, depending on, you know, where things are in the game, I might bring the Dark Alice back, I might not. I had to use Dark Alice to banish 20 so much, but this, I don't think this deck is nearly as good without this card. Yeah, this is like I don't want to say the bread and butter, like it gets everything going, but it kind of does. It kind of seals your strategy a lot, you know, like this requires a lot of resources to out most of the time, and it takes away cards at the same time. So I love this card. It was amazing for me. 3 Death's Breath is cool. Of course, you still play 3 even though you don't have a lot of Necro Charge, because you'll get followers in there through Fine Motion, through Bone Chimera, or through Dark Alice. So still 3 of that. Only 2 Azazel. I hardly ever played this at 4, but it was still something that happened. I know at one point I did get Necro Charge 10 on turn 8 versus a Dragon player. He had 2 cards left in hand. I crashed a Nice Nature to take 1 card into it. I traded with a Shenlong. And then I dropped these and took the last 2 cards out of his hand. He top decked nothing. The next turn I evolved to Azazel, and this is obviously game. So yeah, it's still a good card, just not at 3 in this particular deck. Alucard. This card is just another one of many cards that kind of just keeps me alive. Between this, Olivia, Demonium Punk Devil, you know, all the heals that you just saw. Like, this is one of the best cards. Like, I hardly ever use this. And because I was like, oh, I need to get 6 damage in or 4 damage in. I'd use this because I needed to heal most of the time. And that's the thing about this deck, by the way, guys. I am hardly ever trying to race you. I'm not trying to race you to get you down to 0 before you get me down to 0. I am often, even if I have followers who have already sat on the board and can swing face, if I can trade board, I'm going to trade board every time, because I want to reduce your board pressure down to nothing, so I can start ripping cards from your hand without feeling that pressure, like I'm not able to do that. So I am trying to trade as much as possible. You have to play this deck a little bit different than you would in, like, you know, with your basic Shadowverse Evolved know-how. So very, 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 very great card. Loved it at 2. Sometimes I banish both of them off of a single Dark Alice, but it is what it is. And then the newest edition of the deck, I loved this card so much, Israfil. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I would do that same Dark Alice play where I would crash into something, bring it back, and I would discard the Israfil from my hand. And then the next turn on 7 play points, I would use Death's Breath to bring back the Israfil, evolve it, swing to destroy the board, and then I have a 10-10 ward that just healed my life by 4. It was crazy good. I love this card. I don't think it has a place in every deck, but Abyss is definitely one of them. I was such a big fan of it, so I don't think I could have done nearly as well until I saw this card. This card immediately applies a lot of pressure, especially if you use it a little bit early with Death's Breath. So next, just really quick Evo deck. So we just did 1 Bellringer Angel, 1 Lilith, 2 Crazed Executioner. They came up a lot. We did 3 Carrots for our Fine Motion and Nice Nature. We did 1 Maruzensky, 1 Azazel, and 1 Lilith. So that is everything. Like I said, guys, I had a great time. I mean, it was the deck performed extremely well. It's been great in testing since then too. So I will probably be on this deck for a little bit longer in the format. But unless, you know, other people start playing it and then I get bored and I want to go into something else. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about the deck and what you might change or any suggestions. But that's all I got, and I will see you in the next one.